There's nothing more nostalgic than a steam engine passing through the American countryside. Years after the last train was pulled by steam, the interest in them continues and passes through generations. In 2019, tens of thousands gathered to view the restored Big Boy, the world's largest locomotive. Fortunately, the spirit of steam from the past lives on in museums and heritage railroads. The Strasburg began operating in 1837. Today it runs several historic locomotives and coaches. Many of the operations can be viewed up close. Coordination and safety first are key elements. Engine number 90 was built in 1924. It is a 210O, meaning it has 2 pilot wheels and 10 drive wheels. It could travel at 50 miles per hour. It was built by Baldwin and weighs 106 tons. The crew is happy to answer any questions. The coach on this trip is the Marion. It is a parlor car built in 1910. It features the comfort expected for the time. It even includes a bar. Leaving the station, we catch a glimpse of the famous number 611. Known as the Queen of Steam, this locomotive was built in 1950. It took passengers through the Blue Ridge Mountains. Even with an engine weight of 144 tons, it had over 5,000 horsepower and could pull 15 cars at speeds of 110 miles per hour. The trip lasts 1 hour and passes through Pennsylvania farmland. The Strasburg is the oldest continually operating railroad in North America. Next, we travel to Baltimore, Maryland, and the B&O Railroad Museum. It occupies 40 acres of the old Mount Clair shops. The original station from 1851 is the oldest building in the complex and is considered the birthplace of American railroading. It was the site of the first regularly scheduled passenger service. The museum contains the largest collection of 19th century locomotives and railroad artifacts in the United States. Accurate time was key to running a railroad. The museum has dozens of handcrafted station clocks. A model railroad features many Baltimore landmarks. It includes the downtown area, Camden Yards baseball field, Pimlico racetrack, a small neighborhood, and the Baltimore Cathedral. Many historic passenger cars and locomotives have been fully restored. The original Chesapeake and Ohio number 490 was built in 1926. It was converted to the Streamliner version in 1947. The design reduced air resistance as trains began to travel faster and gave the engines a sleek, modern look. Coming in at over 600 tons is the Allegheny. It was used to pull heavy coal trains over the Allegheny Mountains. It had a power output of 7,500 horsepower. The museum has a World War II Pullman troop sleeper. During the war, railroads transported over 44 million service personnel. If an overnight trip was required, they would serve as a mobile barracks. This car displays the many types of tableware used by the railroads in its golden age. The Roundhouse is a National Public Landmark. It was built in 1884. The building serviced and repaired passenger cars. It was later converted to an exhibition hall to highlight early American railroading. In 2003, there was a record snowstorm. This caused half of the roof to collapse. The damage to historic engines and passenger cars was extensive. It took 2 years to repair the structure and restore the rolling stock. During the reconstruction, engines were restored and the interior was returned to its 1884 appearance. The museum has about 200,000 visitors each year. Tom Thumb was the first successful American locomotive. The Lafayette dates from about 1830. In the early 1800s, locomotive design was definitely a work in progress. Built in 1892, the Atlantic is shown pulling what are clearly stagecoaches on wheels. The Pioneer is from 1851, when engine design began to standardize. It wasn't until 1853 that locomotives began developing real power and speed. The William Mason is the classic American locomotive. It is probably the most recognized of all Civil War engines. A unique design is the camel locomotive. The cab was placed over the boiler, like sitting on a camel. It never quite caught on. An equally unique, but far more practical design is the Shea locomotive. The pistons were placed vertically rather than horizontally. This design made the engine more stable on uneven track and enabled it to climb steep grades. It also produced power more quickly. The pistons turned a rod. The rod was connected to the wheels with gears. This gave the wheels the ability to navigate even badly laid tracks and tight curves. Early engines were simple and had few controls. As engines grew larger, the controls needed to operate them became more complex. Locomotive engineers were looked up to as the astronauts of the day. Passenger cars are included in the collection. They are beautifully crafted and comfortable. They also served as mobile post offices. Both the Strasburg and B&O Museums allow us to step back into American railroading history.